Generally, while making lance builds, there are 4 basic ways to make them, depending from the experience of the player. For beginners, you usually guard 5 and guard up 3. For experienced players, you have generally guard 3 and guard up 2 or 1. That gives you the opportunity to add some more damage or play some more with the build. For advanced players, there is no need to play with guard or guard up, so you can focus on crits and damage. And finally, for speedrunners, those are kind of hybrids, because what they want is to reduce the need to sharp the weapon, but they also go for as much damage as possible, usually in form of crits and attack. If you usually play with guard 5, the jump from 5 to 0 may feel really weird, so I recommend you to go from 5 to 3 and then 0, if you want to be more efficient in your hunts. It's at the end of the day what you need to do. This will also depend from your playstyle and your knowledge of the monster. As final notes, I am not going to talk about rampage weapons because the only one that I will use under certain conditions will be the Paralysis lance. If you want to do something different with the tier 1 slots, by all means do it. And last, in all these builds I am going to use Balstrad's braces, because that way we can focus much more in raw damage, but beware that your HP needs to be above 50%. Let's begin with the poison builds. Here I have two, because it depends from the kind of charm you have. If you have something efficient with Protective Polish or Master Touch, Bouquet Lance may be the best option. Let's start with that one. As general notes, this lance can hit 30 times with Blue Sharpness, dealing 2178 damage to the dummy's head. Landing the 3 Spiral Thrust deals 848 damage. Once it is in Green Sharpness, the damage is going to be around 1952, and for Spiral Thrust around 742, best case scenario. This build is pretty reliable in terms of crits at 80%. For the decorations we are going to need the following: 3 defense, 3 critical eye, 1 venom, 1 weakness exploit, and for the charm, with attack boost 3 and 1 tier 2 slot. Remember that you can do whatever you want with the tier 1 decos, in case you have another idea. This one is kind of a decent build, but having 30 hits is just not really efficient. It hits a bit harder than Basarius Lance, but for a short period of time. For the Poison build number 2, we are going to use Basarius Lance. This lance deals 2098 damage and 846 with a Spiral Thrust. Personally, I have better results with this one, because I am completely relying on its green sharpness, so I don't really have to sharp the weapon, and compared with Bouquet Lance, with Basarius Lance we can catch up in terms of damage, because there is no need to sharp as often. The only disadvantage is that it has a lower affinity, being at 60%. For the decos, we are going to need 2 or 3 speed sharp, 1 venom, 2 critical eye, 2 defense, 1 tenderizer, and for the charm we need Bloodshunner 3 with 1 tier 2 slot. I don't really recommend using the Rampage lances for this type of build unless you want to rely a bit more into damage. For the Sleep build, it deals 1900 damage, more or less. We also have 30 hits before it goes into Green Sharpness. The Spiral Thrust deals 848 damage, and waking up the dummy deals 540 with the Wide Sweep, or 472 depending from the sharpness we have. However, for this one, as soon as the monster falls asleep, we can boost and sharp the weapon. This build is really reliable in terms of crits at 90%. For the decos we are going to need 1 weakness exploit, 1 sleep attack, 1 crit boost, 3 speed sharp, 2 critical eye, 1 attack boost, 2 defense boost, and 1 charm with attack boost 3 and 1 tier 2 slot. For this build I don't recommend a rampage weapon, otherwise you may need some more sleep attack. For the Paralysis build, This is the only one that I don't really like, because it is a bit hard to paralyze the monster compared with some other weapons as the SNS or the dual blades. The damage dealt to the dummy was 1623 and 778 with Spiral Thrust. This one is kind of a reliable in crits at 70%. Personally, the minimum I like to go is for 60% in case you have another idea. For the decos we need the following: 6 defense, 1 weakness exploit, 3 critical eye, 2 speed sharp, 1 attack boost, and 1 charm with Bludgeoner 2 plus 1 tier 2 slot. For this build, if you want to create a rampage weapon, go for it. However, its paralysis amount is not precisely the best. This is the only rampage weapon I will use though. For the blast build, we'll deal 2200 and 909. Depending if RNG succeeds on your side, you might have around 35 to 40 hits before going into green sharpness. Once it is on green, we deal 2059 and between 795. This build has 90% affinity, so it's reliable. For the decos we are going to need 3 sharp, 1 attack boost, 1 weakness exploit, 1 crit boost, and a charm with attack boost 3 plus 1 tier 2 slot. For this last build, perhaps throwing another Master Touch could be much more beneficial in the long run, or even the third Master Touch. That is completely up to you. You may lose some damage, but in the long run you will catch up to the damage. I hope these builds are useful for you. If you have a recommendation for any of them, let me know. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.